Good evening. I'm here to speak to you prior to the public comments of Mr. Bill Dawe. Bill will share the Naperville Environment and Sustainability Task Force statement with respect to extensions of our contract with IMEA, the Illinois Municipal Electric Agency. It's my understanding that you've all received a copy of the NEST email this morning. First, I wish to thank all of you for your service to Naperville. I also want to express my appreciation to our electric utility and all our staff. We are very fortunate to live in this community that all of you strive to make better for us. I'm not here to rehash our IMEA contract that was signed back in 2007. At the same time, I think it's a safe bet to say that many citizens are still unaware of the heavy carbon footprint of our Naperville electricity, primarily from our IMEA ownership of coal-fired generation. And many may not be aware of the growing risk of this coal-fired electricity to our Naperville reputation, to our wallets in the bills we will pay for our electricity, and the impacts from those more frequent extreme weather events. Dr. Rob Sargis reminds me to mention the growing risk to our health, especially to the health of those who live in the communities immediately surrounding these coal plants, far removed from Naperville. IMEA appears to be talking about extensions of member contracts beyond 2035. And from statements that I personally heard at the July IMEA board meeting, it seems that they are trying to dangle a carrot of further renewable energy resources as justification for the extension. Yet at the very same time, they appear to continue their lobbying efforts to block renewable portfolio standards and decarbonization requirements that would apply to municipal electric utilities, electric co-ops, and the Prairie State and Trimble County coal plants in which we have an ownership interest. Given the continued absence of documented plans and commitments, along with IMEA's slow movement toward non-carbon resources, it seems to me that IMEA has every intention to push for another 30 years of our coal generation assets. In case you're not aware, 2018 EPA data for Prairie State is the #1 emitter of CO2 and methane in Illinois. 26 billion pounds of CO2 times 30 more years will get us pretty close to 1 trillion pounds of CO2. As I wrap up my comments, let me share that my father was known as Silent George Hubert during his wrestling career back in the 50s. He was deaf and he turned off his voice in public as his speech was unintelligible to most people. He would be very animated in describing behaviors we see from IMEA as they do their PR emphasis of renewable energy, while at the very same time they push their narrative of coal-fired baseload power. Silent George would probably say, two-faced, immediately followed by one of his favorite questions: why, how come? We are Naperville, and the quality of life and the future of our children and our community and our neighbors are not just words to us. We need to work together to solve this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final public forum speaker is Bill Dawe.
Good evening.
Hi, Bill.
My name is William Dawe. My family and I discovered Naperville in 1979. Purchased a little house down on 1740 Clyde, still there. However, things are happening that are distressing to a growing number of residents. NEST is aware that on the 6th and 7th of November, IMEA held a closed-door two-day session in Springfield, Illinois. The only public visibility was the agenda that they were going to cover in this closed session. We have serious concerns about contract discussions that were listed in that contract. We have serious concerns about contract extensions or addendums being held behind closed doors. There is an upcoming meeting early in December, and that again will be only invited participants. Given this lack of transparency and posted in this upcoming meeting, we advise that any IMEA contract extension or addendum that's proposed as a result of these closed-door sessions be prohibited by the City Council, Naperville Electric, and Naperville Public Utilities Advisory Board. At this critical time for our planet, and I don't think that's an overstatement, and the sustainable future planning for our community, we urgently request the implementation of a contract review and decision process which includes all shareholders, not one that's rushed, and perhaps using the following guidelines. Any new contract extension or addendum must be publicly presented, subject to a competitive bidding process, which we're talking big dollars here, and that's a pretty standard procedure in such instances. And so we also feel that it would have to be improved by the PUAB. In order to reach the 50% reduction in CO2 emissions by 2030 and 100% by 2050, these are goals that are globally accepted, science-based, climate stabilizing standards.
The speaker's time is up.
And
Ms. Podlesny?
we need to get aligned for
Thank
the
you.
creation of those.
Thank you.